part of the trail that's coming up. Tell me about what you've heard about these, the next, what is it called?
Everybody says it's horrible. The Bob Marshall Wilderness.
And everybody says it's horrible.
Yeah, there's thousands of blowdowns, like thousands. And it starts 2 miles from where I have to go in. And there's going to be sections where there's 8 miles nonstop of blowdowns. And people say that their feet never touch the ground. And that the trees are full. One guy messaged me on my Garmin who was in there and said that he could pick enough bear fur off the trees to make a coat,
Oh my God.
but that they couldn't find the trail, and the crews that are supposed to be in there cutting the blowdowns can't find the trail either because there's too many blowdowns. And then they got sidetracked because they had to do a rescue
Yeah. How'd you get that information?
on Facebook.
And you told me you don't know the details of the rescue.
I don't.
Okay.
I just know that they're trying to send, but they can only use crosscut saws in there. So 8 miles of nonstop blowdowns and a couple guys with crosscut saws is going to take a long time. And that's only those 8 miles. There's 120 miles of the Bob Marshall to go until I get to the next road crossing.
And you've got a pack that's how heavy?
I don't know how heavy it's going to be. I have 9 days of food because people were saying like in that 8 in some stretches they can only go not even half a mile an hour. And these are like young guys who were able to walk over the blowdowns easier. They got long legs or whatever.
So for people who don't know what blowdowns are, tell me about the blowdowns. They're trees that have
Yeah,
been
it's trees
in
that have been.
windstorms.
Yeah, some of them are dead, some of them aren't. Some of them still have, they're all evergreens. So they're all, when they're alive, well, either even if they're dead, they have a ton of branches. It's not like just a dead tree trunk or a tree trunk across the trail. It's a tree trunk that's just full of thick branches, you
And
know.
after a few people have been through, do they sort of carve out a way to get through them, or does that help?
Sometimes, so, sometimes people break off some branches and then, it's easier. But then, like, I have really short legs, so sometimes I'll try to get over one and I can't get over it and I have to end up sitting on it. And if somebody broke off a branch, there's this really pokey pointed,
Mm.
it's painful.
Why are there so many? Is that unusual?
Um, because they haven't done trail maintenance for a long time, but also because last year, well, a number of reasons. Last year, there were some really big storms. There were really big wind that blew a zillion trees over. And there's a lot of dead trees because of the pine bark beetle killed like a zillion trees. So it's one reason the fires have also been so bad. That's the other thing, is that if a fire hits this area, you're screwed because you can't even get out easily.
You're also dealing with higher than usual temperatures, right?
Yeah, which means that the snow is melting really fast and the rivers are extremely high and fast.
Doesn't it also mean it takes more energy to hike in that kind of heat?
Well, yeah, it's really hot. Yeah, it's hard to hike. It's hard to have any energy. It's just so hot. It's like in the 90s here. It shouldn't be in the 90s in Montana.
Do you have to carry much water with you?
Um, I haven't looked at this section, but it's possible. I mean, if I don't know if there'll be a stream underneath those eight, like that one solid 8 mile section or not.
You're in East Glacier
But
now, and
mhm.
so, and you gotta cross the Bob Marshall Wilderness. And you're carrying 9 days of food. Where are you headed next? What's your next, uh,
Well, that's going to be a good question too. I so I'm going to start hiking. I did 15 miles yesterday of a relatively easy section of trail without my pack. So I'm going to have to hitch down the road. It's about 12 miles down the road. And yesterday we got a ride in the back of a pickup truck from some older couple from Arkansas gave us a ride. Um, so I'll go down to a place called Marias Pass and start hiking in from there. And then the next place I'll come out is called Benchmark Wilderness, Benchmark Trailhead. And they're supposed to be like 4 miles from it. It's like remote. It's a logging road. There's not a lot of traffic. Some people are going into Lincoln. Some people are going into Augusta. I paid to have a package sent to this Benchmark um like lodge, but the word coming out is that they're really sketchy, that even so this lodge is supposed to go down to town and once a week and pick up hikers packages and bring them up so that the hikers can get them closer to the trail, and they charge like a ridiculous amount of money to do that, but i I did, well, like $30 to hold your package. So I did that because I didn't know if I could get to town. And now the word coming out is that they're really flaky and hikers are getting there and their packages are missing.
just missing completely? Or does that mean they have to?
Either missing or somebody's like they've been opened and half their stuff is gone, or
Oh my,
just, so I don't know what I'll find when I get there, but I was hoping when I got there I would have a food resupply.
did
If
you enjoy
not, I'll have to figure out a way to get to some town.
did you enjoy Sally's cookies?
Yeah.
What kind did
Yeah,
she?
we chocolate chip and brownies. We shared them out. There's still a few left, but I shared them out with a bunch of the guys here.
Um, uh, Tell me again what you said about they're having a difficult time getting permits in Glacier. Of course, you got yours by being there at 4 a.m.
Yeah, well, and I also was a little bit earlier than some. So there's at least twice as many hikers on the trail this year, if not 3 times as many as usual. And there's just way more people than Glacier gives out permits for. So some of the hikers are being forced to do 30, 26, 28, 30-mile days through the park. Some of the hikers are being forced to, even though they want to start at the Canadian border and hike south, they have to go to the southern end of Glacier and hike north to the border and then flip back to the southern end of Glacier.
So they
Um,
can get a permit.
yeah, because it's the only way. Because if everybody's up north, they all want to start with those permits up there. So the permits down south aren't, yeah,
Yeah.
are free. So people are flipping. And then the other thing that some people are having to do is like I got a permit the first day I could only go 6 miles. Well, some people to go to that first backcountry campsite that's 6 miles in had to first hike like 18 or miles to some other campsite and then backtrack 6 miles. People are having to do like really weird loops through the park.
Any explanation for the high number of hikers?
Oh, well, first off, the trail's becoming more popular. But last year, a lot of people didn't hike because of COVID.
So was last year
And
abnormally low, or is this year
yeah,
abnormally
last
high?
last both.
Both.
Last year was very abnormally low, and this year is, I'd say at least double, if not triple the norm.
Do you think that's also related to the pandemic?
Yeah, people, I mean, and the park, it's another reason too why the park is even fuller than usual. I mean, all the national parks are saying they're filled up. They filled up in like as soon as they opened.
Because it's people consider it a safe activity compared
Well,
to,
and people have been itching to get out. Nobody got out last year, and everybody's just trying to get out. And so
okay.
the parks are filled up.
Okay.
And then the hikers and people got thrown off other trails last year, although I've since heard that that was not legal, but people got thrown off the Pacific Crest Trail, and they've had trouble getting permits out there too this year. So they're coming here to do the Continental Divide, but more and more people are starting to be willing to venture to do the Continental Divide Trail.
They don't know what they're in for.
Well, it's always scared people because it's so poorly marked, but I think now there's more apps, trail apps that make people feel more confident doing it. I've
You
been
see,
teaching some of the younger folks how to use a map and compass. They didn't even know that the compass like pointed north. They didn't even know anything about a compass.
that's hilarious.
It's frightening, really, because like one guy said he lost his phone in a river crossing recently. Luckily, he was with a group of other people, because if you lose your phone in the bob and you can't even see the trail and you're in just surrounded by blowdowns, and these trees are big trees, like some of these trees, even if they're laying on the ground, I can't get my legs over them. I have to try to like pull up to sit on them because they're really big fat trees.
I bet the search and rescue people are having a hell of a time with all these extra hikers not knowing what they're doing, some of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think in general, the CDT hikers are not complete novices, but
Okay.
there are beginning to be more people who haven't done other long trails before.
Yeah. So when do we hear from you again?
When I get out of the bob,
About a week from now or sooner?
well, I'm carrying 9 days of food.
9 days. Okay.
And I hope I can make it through before that, but it's 100, well, it's 120 miles at least.
Oh, and one more thing. You said that you've done how much of your trek so far?
Somewhere around 300 miles, about 200 in the Great Basin, southern Wyoming, and then now 100 through Glacier. So that's about 1/5 of the total.
And how are you doing? How are you holding up?
It depends. I'm okay.
Okay.
Everything hurts, but no, my feet hurt, my hip. I pulled a muscle in my hip when I fell, and I twisted my ankles a few times on snow bridges and when the snow gave out under me. So things are kind of sore. I have what they call the hiker wobble when I walk. I tripped. I couldn't even walk down the steps of the laundromat yesterday.
You couldn't. What did
No,
you?
I well, because I didn't have my hiking poles to help me down the steps. There was no railing. I was holding my laundry. So I I fell down the steps, and luckily there was a pickup truck parked there, and I kind of smacked and ran in front of the I mean, like it was parked there. So it, when I hit it, it stopped my forward momentum.
How are your socks holding up?
Well, they're looking pretty grim, actually. They're they're all fuzzy. See, they're. I don't
No, I
know if
can't
you can
see it.
see.
You
What
got it.
happened?
Okay,
Oh,
there we go.
I don't
Oh
think you
my
can.
goodness. Those are darn tough socks.
They are. I don't know. Well, this one's inside out now, but there's all this like, this one has these cloud patterns on it, and the fuzz on them, they're not doing too well.
Hold them
This
up. Yeah,
pair's.
fire.
I also washed them, but they're still, they could stand up on their own. They're stiff. Yesterday was the first day I actually was able to put things in a machine and wash them. And I washed these by hand before I put them in the machine. But there's all this like, I don't know, I'm not, you can't see them. It's okay.
Yes, I
They're
can.
fuzzy.
Them. Yeah.
They feel like, this pair feels like it's coming apart. The other pair I keep out as kind of new. I only wear them when I really need some to feel good, to have a new pair of socks on my feet.
So is there anything that you need that I can get for you?
No, I have to figure out where the hole is in my water bag and try to patch it. But just a few new knees, a couple new ankles. I have to fix my umbrella. I have a bunch of repairs to do.
Oh, your umbrella you have to fix? This
Yeah, I
was,
broke.
yeah, this is the one you used in the hailstorm?
Yeah. The hail was marble size. It was from pea to marble size. And for a while, for about a mile at least, I was walking in 2 inches of hail on the ground. It made the most amazing sound. Oh, and by the way, when I said that holy shit day was a good day, I meant it. It wasn't
Okay.
sarcasm.
Okay.
It was, it was because I survived it. It felt good. But the
Now,
next day felt hard.
do you think we need to clarify about yogiing?
Oh, yeah. Somebody wrote they thought it sounded, what was the word?
Passive aggressive.
Passive or something, because you're not asking outright. But the idea is that you're giving, like, you don't go up to somebody and say, oh, do you have extra food? I'd love some of your extra food. You just start talking to them, and people like want to know, oh, what can I do for you? Or and or it, and so they're glad to offer you something. It's like you give them the opportunity to offer it without asking.
Well, yeah.
It started really back in the 80s, I think. The whole term started is when it came to be. And it was because we'd get to shelters and there'd be bunches of Boy Scouts there who had cooked way too bury it in the woods. And of course, the hikers would gladly have eaten it. So, and we discovered that if we got to the lean-tos and said, wow, that smells great, they'd say, oh, do you want some? We have more than we want. Or when they would say, oh, where did you come from? If you said, oh, I've just hiked, 1,000 miles from blah, 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 people would be like, they'd be glad to give you a meal for your story. And,
I,
and that's how it started, is people realize if they start talking, then they might get offered something.
but food and other basic things do take on a whole different meaning on the trail, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, food takes on a different, well, hunger is much more real on the trail. So yeah, food becomes,
Yeah.
you dream about it
Do you really dream about food?
sometimes.
Yeah. How was
you,
your
you
pizza?
can't eat you can't eat enough calories to stay full on the trail.
You had pizza and ice cream the other day,
i
right?
did I did, and cookies
And
and
cookies.
brownies,
Yeah.
and ate my hiker meals, which I'm sick of, but
Buy yourself something good to eat when you can. Okay? Promise me. I want you.
sometimes it's kind of pricey in these small towns, but
That's what that's what your, you know, donation is for.
mm,
Give you a bit of comfort, pleasure. You deserve it.
mm. I have a picture I'll send of all my food spread out as I
Oh,
was packing yesterday.
oh, great. Yeah. Send me pictures. I'll-
Yeah, okay,
I'm going to stop recording now.
good.